Okay, it is 6:30. We will call the annual budget hearing meeting of the Arlington School District to order and take roll, please.
Jason Stark.
Here.
Keith Lester.
Here.
Chase Credible.
Here.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Shannon Wilma.
Okay, first item on our agenda this evening is item number 2 is public hearing for the review of our budget expenditures for the 2023-2024 budget year as published. Is there anybody in the galley that wishes to speak this evening? Seeing none, Dr. Lewis, would you please present our budget numbers?
Yeah, I will kind of talk through the budget document. This was published in the paper, but if you've never seen it before, so we have a couple of new board members. Cassie and Brian here last year yet. So the first column comes directly out of the audit. So that's actual disbursements and transfers, the audit for that year. So those funds in the general fund, we spent just over 8.8 million. In depreciation, we had spent 1.1 million out of it that year. Activities, 371,000. School nutrition, 327,000. Bond, that was the year we refunded the bond, so we did that and made our payment, so that we spent 6.185, but we had cash in and out on that refunding. And then the special building fund, we spent $1.7 million. That was the year we were doing the building project. And then qualified capital purpose undertaking, that's QCPF that we talked about, that's that bond that had HVAC on it. So that year, our actual disbursements and transfers was $18,941,411. Again, about $6 million of that was to refund the bond, so you could drop that out and roughly say $12 million that year. Then this is our estimated. So this is, we closed the year, but they're not audited figures yet. They're as close as we can get coming out of like our e-finance reports and our reconciliations and things like that. So spent 9.5, just say $1 million in the general fund. We spent actually $10,875 in depreciation. Activities, we spent $411,000. School nutrition fund, we spent $507,000. Again, lots of upgrades in the kitchen that we did, the new serving line, all of those things were paid for in this last year. And recall, we had those excess federal funds that they wanted us to spend down. In the bond fund, this was just our payment and the interest that we spent. In the special building fund, again, that was our lease payment to the leasing corporation, $407.56. That's what we spent out of there. And I think maybe there was like a slight overage at the very beginning of the fiscal year last year. That was something, remember it was the something that had to do with the I'm gonna say the pilings, but that's not right. Whatever out there. We remember they had to go deeper. The helical piers. We had to go a little bit deeper. So I think there was a little bit of expense out of there for that. And then our payment and interest on the HVAC bond there as well. So for total expenditures last year of $11,659,789. So this year in the budget that we looked at in the budget workshop last month and that the finance committee has reviewed multiple times in the general fund, we're budgeting $11,287,520. Now last year, I'm gonna back you up a little bit, on our actual budget document, we budgeted over 10 million. We just had carryover. We didn't spend every penny because, some of those you budget, especially in buildings and grounds for like a catastrophic thing that you're gonna need to do or whatever. So whenever you don't spend a little something, that becomes cash carryover, which is a good thing. You can tax less, but so our actual expenditures were less than what we budgeted. This is what we're budgeting for this year. That's everything in the general fund. Depreciation, we have $969,272 budget to spend. Not that we're planning on spending all of that, but you budget to spend every penny that you have in your depreciation account. So that's how you build your budget. And then next year it might look like this again, like maybe we only had to spend that much, but that's part of our necessary cash reserve, so it's good to hang on to that. Activities, we budget to spend everything in and out, so that's $568,749. I suspect it's gonna be closer to this number when it's all said and done, but the way you build your budget, again, you budget to spend every penny that you have in that account. School nutrition, with our cash carryover and what we would have coming in, we're budgeting to spend $610,768. These three accounts here that we just talked about, those are non-taxing accounts, so we're not asking for taxes in any of those. So if those numbers look a little big to you, don't panic, those are just what we're hanging on to, but those are cash in and out. These two and that one is just transfers from the general fund and what we have saved in there. The bond fund, we are budgeting to spend our payment to the bond, and then this is the necessary cash reserve that we have in there. And again, if I go back up one column to the school nutrition fund here, this is what we're allowed to keep in reserves according to the hot lunch. So that's where that number came from. That's actually said 157,000 that we were allowed to keep, which is about 3 months of expenses that come out of that. 6 months that they told us that we could hang on to in there. Special building fund, we budget to spend everything that we have in that account. So that is $1.3 million. And as we kind of talk through in the finance committee and the budget workshop, we're hoping to pay off everything that we owe to the leasing corporation yet, and be done with that this year. And that's why we're asking for just a little bit here in levy. And then QC Puff, this is the exact amount of our bond payment and interest. And then this is necessary cash reserve to hold us over for the next year so we can make that last payment without having to ask for taxes. So our total resources available before taxes, this number right here in the general fund represents our state aid, our foundation aid, option funding, all of those things, plus any cash carryover that we are anticipating, which was about $3 million actually. So that's all kind of combined in there. So that's what we start with, cash carryover and the state aid, sped funding, all of that we're expecting to come in, which leaves us, and then our necessary cash reserve, which we're adding in there. So this plus that minus that is what we're asking for in taxes over there. This resources before property taxes are kind of inconsequential. That's our depreciation and hot lunch and activities because we're not asking for taxes there. In the bond fund, what we have available before property taxes is 567, same thing there. That is carryover plus anything else. You're not gonna have anything else coming into that except some a few, maybe some motor vehicle taxes and things like that, but you don't get funding from the state for anything in the bond fund. So then we're asking for next year's payment in our property taxes there. Special building fund, like I explained, our resources available before property taxes, we have sitting in there this is a little bit more to get us to that point where we can just pay off everything we owe the leasing corporation and maybe have, 150, maybe 200,000 left over in that once we make that payment throughout this fiscal year. And then QC Puff, same thing again, what we would have resources available as our carryover. And then this is the exact amount of that last payment, pretty much. So that brings our total resources available before property taxes, $11,183,828, and our total personal and real property tax requirement, $7,859,092. Of that, at the bottom, we talk about what's a bond and what's not. So they just have us break that down. But those are the totals there. And all of those numbers come out, like I said, of the audit of the last year's e-finance reports and as close as we can get unaudited figures and know what we budgeted for. So
Sure, yeah. These are Finance Committee, great job getting this put together. Again, we should probably offer one more time since it really was a second item on our agenda. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak about next year's budget. I see none, so we can go ahead and close the budget hearing at 6:40. Okay. Which allows us to call the levy hearing meeting to order. This is the annual levy hearing for the Arlington School District for the budget year 2023-2024. Dr. Lewis, would you like to walk us through these forms, please?
Sure. Okay, so we began, I'll just start kind of at the top. At the top, we talked about property valuations last year, which was $770,576,644. To which we come to this year, where we had, now our property valuations are $881,954,215. Significant increase. That is our property that is, belongs to our district in Douglas, Dodge, and Washington primarily. So it's 14% increase in valuations. So the left side of the chart here, we compare the 2 years of budgets basically. So last year, this is what we're talking about, we had a budget of $10,778,560. Our property tax request in the general fund then to fund that was $332,763. Last year, based on last year's valuation, that tax rate was 95 cents in the general fund, just a little bit more. If we were asking for this same amount that we asked for last year, but based on this year's valuations, that would have been an 83-cent levy instead of a 95-cent levy. So this side of the chart really gives you a greater maybe appreciation or understanding for what happens when valuations fluctuate that much. We could have gotten the same money last year by asking for 83 cents instead of 95 cents. So when you have a big valuation jump, that's just what you can expect to see. It doesn't really impact what we're asking for this year. They just ask us to talk everyone through that. And again, bond fund, we asked for, our operating budget was 521 roughly. We asked for 454, and that was about a 6-cent levy. This year it would have been about a penny less, a little bit less than a penny less, so a 5-cent levy. Special building fund, we did not ask for any levy out of there at all last year, so that's why that's zeros, and that's why that carried over into this. It wouldn't let me force a zero in there. Every time I tried to put a zero in there, it kept that dash. So, and you know, anything, when you're trying to divide anything into zero, we know the answer is like
Error.
if you put it in a calculator. So that's why that is, but, so you can see that we didn't ask for anything. And QC Puff, our operating budget was $350,000. We asked for $303,000, and our tax rate was 3.4 or 3.9. It would have been 3.4 had we had the same valuations this year that we did last year. So, bottom line there, our operating budget last year was $13,061,795. We asked for $8,090,338 in property taxes last year for a levy of $1.05 roughly. This year, our operating budget, all of those things total is $13,519,265. That is, it rounds it up, that's an increase of 3.5%. So, and that includes necessary cash reserve, just so we're all on the same page there. Our tax request is $7,859,092. You can see that that is less than what we asked for last year. And then our levy that we need to ask for to get that, because number one, we're asking for less, and number two, our valuations are so much higher. The levy we're asking for is 89.1099 cents. So change in tax rate is a reduction by 15%, and the overall operating budget is 3.5, really, it rounds up to 4.
Mm-hmm.
This one up here was, this wasn't quite 5 either, it was like 4.7, and so it just rounds them all to the nearest whole percentage there. So again, bottom line, the levy is down because of those valuations, and we are asking for $231,000 and some odd dollars less than we asked for last year.
And our actual budget grew by about 3.5%,
3.5%,
which is pretty consistent with years past.
right. And so we did get that foundation aid from the state. some increased sped funding, that we anticipate, so those are anticipated receipts. And we did have more cash carryover this year than we did last year, so all of those things are all kind of combining to
Working in our
give us.
favor, yeah.
And our necessary cash reserve will be in a little bit better position than it was last year.
Okay, an opportunity here for anybody from the public that wishes to speak regarding the levy request we presented tonight. I see none. We can go ahead and adjourn our levy hearing meeting at 6:46. All right, take a short break, remind everybody the Strive camera's on.
Yeah.
And we'll kick the ball again at 7 o'clock.
Does anybody want any coffee? I don't know.
Cause we can make.
I don't need any coffee. Think so?
Well, maybe, yeah.
You're not getting any.
Just because you asked, that's a big fat no.
Don had a good idea. This is that one after the pledge, ceremony was silence from 9/11. Yeah.
It's crazy, 22 years ago.
Oh, I know, every year, it's the same thing.
Doesn't feel like that long ago.
You know, that is our generation's JFK moment. You know,
Yeah.
We don't know exactly what they were doing, where they were.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You don't have a blank, you need to get one.
I think it's this. Nice. I can't get over this term.
Real quick, get
Vice
close.
President and first gentleman.
Did you say anything this one? Oh, yeah.
Hangs out and freaking-
I love it, it's nice. It is.
Yeah.
With the football team backing up,
Uh-huh.
just giving them yards.
Mhm. You should see it, guys, I'm gonna go to bed now.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I'm gonna go to bed now. Okay.
You know, my dad who had Alzheimer's, I heard that and it reminded me so much of him. Cause you
Oh,
could
yeah.
like eat lunch with him and he'd go, I think I need to go to bed now.
Mhm.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Mm.
I know it's I forgot to, but I'll mention this to Don. You should, I was gonna send him the card here, but I'll sign it for Bruce. I sent him a text.
I went to the visitation today, that was not today.
I was gonna say something on Sunday.
Oh, you're going in
No,
today?
it's next.
Where's your
Oh,
trade?
no,
they're doing it on
Visitation
Sunday too.
Friday. Oh, they are.
They're doing one at
Sunday night, it's,
First
yeah,
middle
it's-
volleyball.
Yeah, I
Second
didn't
grade
see
volleyball.
that. And I didn't know.
Nice, so you haven't left either?
Haven't left yet either. No. Someday.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Who's showing the bill for
He didn't bring a bill yet. He talked to me about it and then his mom passed away.
Yeah.
So he said-
I put it in Fort Hughes.
Yeah. So he said he would get that right. So, yeah.
Okay.
So he did talk to me about it and.
Which reminds me, I got something in my car to get for it too.
Good for you.
In my mind, I'm not as old as I am.
Sounds like my husband.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's 25 and then I question.
You have to remind him.
Yes, I do a lot.
Okay, well, I think I said something like, in my brain, I'm like 20. Times 2 plus 2. But I mean. It's exactly the way that I hurt myself. So we had a dance party and I was waiting to my dad. And I go, Mom, can you do a cartwheel? I'm like, I can't do a cartwheel. I cannot. I'm like, oh, Kira, pop. I'm like laying on the couch. The girls are like, you need nice back. I'm like, I don't know what I need.
You did a cartwheel?
I did. It just, they
Yes, I did.
the great cartwheel debacle of 2020.
Oh, I've heard that story.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So for
Oh, I've heard that
a
story.
week and a half though, I'm limping around the school after that.
Didn't capture that one on video though, did we?
No, there's video.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's video, because that was,
Oh my.
yes. If it ever comes out though, I know who to go after. My 3 sweet, lovely children.
Although the best one is the fall off of the curb out.
Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one.
Everything that happens to Jackie gets captured
It's
on
on
video.
video.
So,
I was walking
And then they
looking at my
record
phone,
on the
and I
link and they
didn't
do it.
step off the curb, I just hit my knee, like I just fell off the curb and hit my knee. And I get up and I'm like,
Well, I can imagine just from that.
we have it on video. I also fell
I
one
think
time
you actually wanted to see
walking.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I fell one time, I was like trying to send an email from my phone, because I was walking over to the front of my foot and like tucked and rolled and popped back up, looked around, kept going.
I couldn't find it.
That was a few years
Just
ago, right?
received
Tucked
from
and
that
rolled,
guy.
got back up, now I'm trying to lay there.
Oh, I did.
Right?
Speaking of Alzheimer's,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you brought it to me on Friday. I didn't know that's what you were looking for, I'm sorry. I should-
No, that's all right.
And so then
Yeah, that's
I
my
retired,
family.
all the sorts of
I have no recollection of giving them to you.
It was Friday when we were on the agenda, or Thursday, or whatever it was.
You did it all, Jackie.
We went over the agenda right there.
Pick that one. What's holding that? That crazy.
The beautiful thing about Jackie is she's like, can we watch that? I
Yeah.
just fell, and I'd be
We
like,
watched that on
I
video.
don't know, saw them.
I also,
Can we go see that?
I also have the video though of Brett, so they were having indoor baseball practice, and Brett was pitching at Jack, and he hits a line drive back and he hits him square in the face.
Oh,
I have that on video too. His lips swelled up so fast, he's like.
Hey, Shannon.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, great.
How's it
All
going?
good things.
Stand here.
Oh, goodness.
You just wanna rotate? We'll just rotate in a circle there.
What? Oh,
I'm just trying to
Well,
figure out.
musical chairs, it's fine, we're good without the music.
so it's just chairs.
It's just chairs.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't think Mr. Shado will be in. He said give him a call if you have any questions about anything.
Is he calling the game out there?
He's
No, he was
watching.
standing there eating
Junior
popcorn.
high, his son is a junior football player, right, London's playing this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not
This
junior
is
high, it's
JV.
JV.
Oh, this is JV.
Yeah.
No, he
He's just
is,
watching.
he's supervising.
Tomorrow night. All the good things.
There's a lot this week.
There is a
Yeah,
lot
there
this
is.
week, it's a busy week. The last week was a busy week, the one before that was busy too. They just get busy.
Just
Eric?
thanks to me.
That's why we don't realize how old we actually are, like Chris, when we full circle back to that 25-year-old conversation.
Yeah.
Because the days
So he
are
tells
so
people all the time, he's 25. It was shipping him.
Mr. Kingston, do you wanna run this meeting?
I was hoping you would ask.
I do.
I love that guy's attitude,
I know,
Always.
so nice.
Yeah, I do need that. Sometimes I.
Combine and I see the field pretty well.
That was his best.
Must be hitting it pretty well.
Must be, I haven't seen. I know, I was out in Tokyo last week. But I don't know if that means he might want to be.
Shannon, how's it going?
And he's.
Are you
Good.
okay? All right.
Yeah, today was a busy day. It's going well.
Right now,
Good.
there's no point.
I know.
We went down to Clay County Fair yesterday. There, and drove all the way up there and seen two fields of beans.
This is really so similar to my.
And the rest of it was seed corn and
That wasn't that bad.
was it, oh really?
Get the-
Whole way up there and all the way back.
It might be the exact same.
So,
Yeah. We looked at some beans over by mom's today. Half of them are ready to go, I suppose.
no,
I think it's-
Half of them are not.
and half of them are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got the same thing.
Agreed.
Shannon, while we got a couple
Yeah,
minutes,
same
did you
thing.
have any questions about the budget or the? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
It's like the 100th time somebody said. it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't mean to wear you out, but
I am good.
I kind of did actually mean to wear you out.
Well, then.
Oh, and seniors going up.
All right.
Way to go.
Does anybody need a clipboard or anything to write on?
Yeah.
Okay.
She is so prepared for you guys this year. Actually, if you would tell her you would like a clipboard, she would be really happy.
Yeah, that's okay. I really don't wanna go back that far. but-
Blaine, you're kinda early. Hey, Blaine, you're kinda early. Usually everybody packs in here for the last meeting.
These two are no surprise that they're the first ones at the first meeting.
I
Oh,
would
that's
expect a
good.
couple more before we get going.
She picked the longest one of the year though.
Yeah.
Probably not. It's really not.
Yeah, it's probably good for them tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I told Austin I was gonna remind her.
Not today, you feel bad. They're all good. Some are just better than others.
Here we go.
I figured.
Yeah.
I figured. Right, we gotta go pick up out.
Yeah.
I had two.
Yeah.
So,
Tomorrow.
nobody had any complaints about anything else.
Yeah.
Well, that's I got frustration. It was-
Oh, no, how can you do that?
They don't.
We'll try.
No, Yeah, one day. We don't for sure know where this one's gonna be. If you don't apply for the extra.
No, I mean,
So I think you.
Oh, the levies.
You are the
Yeah,
right
we
board
should
meeting.
just-
Why is yours so different than?
Keep it the same or what?
that'll go just a little.
Oh, yeah.
Not much.
Just regular
Not
consent, financials.
Yep, no,
We're
that's
good.
right.
Probably getting
It
more
just looks
state aid
different
next
than
year.
mine. You probably just have a different.
Budgeted.
keyboard than-
The best one.
Yeah, no, cause it ain't gonna happen.
Mine never.
Oh, we gotta throw out a number. I'm gonna say 90 and a half.
That's because you just had promotions on it.
Oh, you're a bad
Oh, hell, yeah. You know I will.
This is what, anytime it looks different than
You
this, I'm
know I
like,
will.
what happened to him?
I'm right spot.
The board knows that to honor the two students who showed up for the first meeting, it has to be a quick one.
Yeah.
So that they.
Until everybody
Thought
else.
we were-
Yeah, we
everybody
get it out of there.
Absolutely.
We're asking
In fact,
if
you
there's
guys,
a
let's just
December.
sign you and let you go. Sign you
I'm
out,
like,
so you get home.
yes. Sure hope. You know what's gonna happen next September?
Everybody will be here.
They'll all be in here.
We should have one random meeting where we just do that.
That would be
And
great.
you never know.
Don't know when it is. But then you guys wouldn't learn parliamentary
There you
procedure.
go.
and- Yeah.
We want them here for the whole meeting, it just
Mhm.
pressure's on to go quick.
Chase, do you remember coming to a board
It
meeting?
wasn't a requirement.
Really? Didn't you have,
It wasn't. They changed it, shortly after, I believe.
I remember having to come. I don't remember actually coming, but that's it. I don't remember it.
Being here.
No, I know I had to come, but I don't remember.
Board meetings, does anybody know where board meetings were held prior to building this room? Cause I've always,
They have them in a classroom? Or in the commons? or
nobody
something?
here knows.
I'll
I
have
gotta
to
think,
ask.
we, in government, we had to go, Kellogg made us come to board meeting.
Really?
Yeah, when we were in, but that was in 87. But but I think then we met in a classroom.
Yeah, probably.
I think we did. No, we met right out, they met right out here in the commons area.
All right, I've got 7 o'clock. Welcome to the September edition of the Arlington Board of Education regular meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, copy which is posted at the back of the room. And hello to everybody that is watching us on Strive tonight. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock and take roll, please.
Jason Arp.
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry, hang on. That's not-
He is here.
He is here, but that's not the right thing. Jason Arp, yes. Cassie Fuss.
Yes.
Chase Cradwell.
Here.
Brian Locker.
Here,
Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Shannon Wilmot.
All right, very good. Next, we will say the pledge, and afterwards, we'll have a moment of silence for 9/11. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, hard to believe. 22 years. The first item on the agenda tonight is at 1.4, as always, the approval of the regular meeting agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Thanks, Chase and Jason. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Chase Cradwell.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
here, yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot.
Yes.
Jason Arp.
Yes.
Cassie Fussler.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Second item on the agenda, as always, is welcome to our guest public forum. If there's anybody in the galley tonight that wishes to speak to the board, seniors, now it's time. No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward into our consent agenda. We have minutes of the prior meeting and financial reports. Dr. Lewis, is there anything that you want to highlight in here? Are there any questions?
We did not include the percentage sheet right now because we're in that, kind of that no man's land. We closed out the last budget. Haven't populated the new budget until we actually put this in yet. So, but you saw all of our estimated budget figures when we did the hearing a little bit ago, and that's pretty much what you would see. You won't see the percentages, but we did spend a little bit less than we budgeted for and carried over a little bit more, so we call that. Did anybody have any questions about any particular bills that we're seeing on there? Some of these are still coming in from, summer requisitions and things like that.
I felt like the visa bill was very high. Is that pretty typical for the beginning of the year, or is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, for the beginning of the year, I would say July and August, we run about that because everything is coming in and everything is getting billed. What were
There's a
some
lot
of the
of
bigger things that were on it this
Technology
month?
was purchased, some of the FBLA national stuff, it carries over, so it's just over the summer, those are usually pretty big ones to get all the supplies.
But you're right, and the bill
Yeah.
is attached on there
Mhm.
too. You can take a look at that.
Yeah.
But that's, and then we have the back to school meals for staff, and things
Mhm.
like that, and those are, when we're feeding 100+ staff members.
Yeah,
so
it adds
it's
up
been-
quick.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I did want to explain a little bit too,
Okay.
there were some checks that were cut, to be paid in the new fiscal year that were after September 1st, and Jen did a great job, I think, breaking those down on there. So everything that was on the first part of the check register there, will come out of last year's fiscal year. And then there were some that are cut that had to be made now in this new fiscal year. And so those are paid after September 1st, and then some are paid before September 1st. So if that makes sense on that, but I think she broke it down pretty good.
Yeah.
I did have one question. The Casey's, the fuel for the vans. Remind me why we do that versus go through the fuel tank that we have.
Their gas.
Gas.
Thank you, thank you.
Put diesel in it. That's a good question.
Anything else? Okay, into our curriculum reports. Do we have, Christie, she's obviously not.
Did you want to?
Do we need to approve the?
Do we? Yes, we do. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thank you.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Cassie and Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plesner,
Yes.
Chase Craddock.
Yes.
Trying to get to her here.
I'm sorry.
It's all Aaron's fault, setting us up.
Okay, so we have the media report. This has been posted. I'm sure we've all glanced through it. Dr. Lewis, is there anything that,
No, we've got some new, you'll see we have a new para in the library, that's Mrs. Lozo. She worked here in the past, came back for us this fall, and there are some great murals now down there. I mean, everything else you can kind of read through, but some of the artwork that the PTO hired our artists to come in and take care of, so some really, really neat things that liven it up. That top one is in the annex that's up above it. I think that's where, not the computers are, but where Christy teaches the library classes up there, Mrs. Rollins, excuse me. So those are new murals down there. And then this one, the reading will take you everywhere is, it's right by the librarian's desk before you go into like Mrs. Wolf's office or into the workroom, right there on the wall, so. Really livens things up. Really talented artist when she comes in and does all of that freehand. So if you haven't seen those in person yet, it's really fun to kind of walk through. She painted in the concession stand too as well. So if you participated in the concession stand this year at a volleyball game, you would have seen that also. But yeah, I mean, you can read through the rest of it. It's budget summary. By Rule 10, we have to purchase so many titles and so many periodicals and things like that per year, so we're compliant with what we need there. And Mrs. Rollins has some great ideas about how to get kids, books that kids love to read, into the hands of kids that love to read.
Dr. Lewis, does a circulation count as one student writing out a book?
I
Those
believe
numbers.
so, yeah. So in and out, so yeah, like a popular book might be checked out 30 times this year, you know, if a kid reads them really quickly, so. What was the one I think I was gonna say? Oh, she's got the maker space in there too. So you see some of the older students participating in some activities where it looks like they just kind of have chaos or they're just playing or doing things, but there's a maker space. So they're learning basic robotics and building things and getting creative and taking on little challenges and seeing how can we do this or how could we solve this problem or that. So she's got a station in there too that's considered maker space. So if you haven't seen that, that's really fun. And it was full of grandparents last week.
oh, yeah.
Mrs. Morgan, you have anything to add, Mr. Bingston?
Everybody good? Next item on the agenda, item 5 is review of our annual district plan. That,
Okay, so everything that we added is in, for this, is in the, the royal blue color there. So in the goal area of budget, we just, reviewed our budget and our levy and everything like that. So I think it does a good job being accountable to taxpayers and making the most of our resources. We were unable to avoid that large levy swing this year, due in large part to the large valuation swing. So that made that unavoidable, but it checked off the priorities of the board. Community engagement. We're pushing a lot of our new staff and things like that out on social medias. I don't know, what do you call it, Twitter anymore, and Facebook and Instagram? Call it X. I still type Twitter when I go to it. I don't type an X. I don't know, so maybe it's still Twitter. Anyway, so Mrs. O'Connell is really great at creating canvas, push those out there, and so I think that's a little bit more visibly appealing. And we're still working on our things. I mean, I think the board is still committed to an annual community engagement meeting, and that's a big thing, but we'll revisit that again in January. But I think most recently, All of our new staff members got a big shout out, and I think she started doing that with seniors actually at the end of the year last year too, making a nice little blast for each of the seniors that went out on social medias. So just getting the good things out there so people can see all of those facilities. Got that
Busy.
boiler room, got that boiler room demoed, got lots of renovations in the kitchen. We took those first steps towards trying to create a more appealing game entrance there, so the fences are out and everything like that. Still shopping for an eagle. I might have to, there's a couple of places that I'd like to go look, so I might have to hop in a van some weekend and go take a look at some of those, because I really want to get something out there that shows our pride and our school spirit. There's a couple of other ideas for right out there, but at least we've got more visibility, and it doesn't feel like you're walking past the loading dock now. All of the murals throughout to brighten and improve, so you saw some of them there in the library and in the concession stand, and we have some plans to do some here too, outside of the high school offices. And then Buildings and Grounds met, and we talked about it at the last board meeting, to talk about things that are needing to come ahead. Maybe widening the opening into like the boiler room next summer, so we can easier get into that for storage, and what we can do about some drainage and things like that, that we know are issues that continue to be issues for us continuously. So, as far as student performance, we're in that new math curriculum pilot. Teachers have the materials in their hands and they're using it right away, aren't they, to start math instruction. Conversations with both Blair and now Fremont Public Schools talking about their CTE and their Metro Community College dual credit program certifications. Blair, I believe, has acquired a new building, and they've got instructors that are coming directly to the Blair High School campus to teach some of those courses, and Fremont is interested in letting us see what their new CTE center, which will be open next year, is gonna look like, and inviting some of our students to come and participate with those programs. So I think that we do, I think, a fantastic job of dual credit on the academics side. Just to really open that up, I think, to vocational sides, if we can find ourselves working with one or both of those districts on those. And the nice thing about that is some of the programs that Metro has offered to some of our students in these areas were at like their South Omaha campus. It's really difficult for our kids to get there, but Fremont and Blair are both close enough that we could potentially have students, taking part of their day, school to work or whatever, and going and taking some classes instead. So we're excited about both of those opportunities. And then in behavioral and mental health, we did add one additional resource for suicide prevention, and we've got new posters where our hotlines are visibly posted. We've got and that new contact that's been part of the guidance, our guidance counselors too. I can't say enough about the good things that they're doing for students and how much training they all got this summer, as well as Mrs. Stanislav, our school psychologist. So just doing great things to not only improve how they're working with kids, but getting the resources to them. And then in our workshop our in-service next Monday, we're having a full staff training for Project Harmony, which is where they come in and they'll do a 2-hour training. They'll cover a lot of topics, but again, it's, I think, mandatory reporting and some other things like that. But Kristen got that lined up for us. Kristen Stanislav, our school psych. So great people doing great things with kids. It's really important.
Yeah. Awesome. Good progress in every area. Anybody have any thoughts, comments, or questions? No? Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Principals reports, Mr. Shada, he's has his here, essentially fall numbers, I think, is really what he's reporting on here. So if you have questions about that, check with him at the football game after the board meeting. He's out there chaperoning.
The chaperone.
Yeah. Supervising, right?
There you go.
Sorry. Mr. Finkson?
All right. Okay, here's what the first one is about, is, on the National Spanish exam. We just wanted to highlight a couple different things. A lot of times FBLA, FFA, are very visible, but wanted a couple things in here for you to just, we're proud all around the board. These are screenshots of the National Spanish exam results, where we have students, we had 54, 56, I think maybe we said 56 students who took the National Spanish exam. And of those, bless you. Two of ours scored gold performance, 9 was silver performance, and 10 was bronze performance. And one of the things that Senora Glassford is very proud of is some of the schools that the numbers would equate to up here, have quite a few more participants, and maybe are traditionally seen as kind of just having higher academic standards type of thing. So just wanted you to see it from this perspective of some of the schools we're competing against with the National Spanish exam, that we're having our students show one way to show their talents. So,
Really impressive.
yeah.
Mhm.
And we're learning how to say gold, silver, and bronze.
Yes.
Finish.
Woo! Well, I mean, I
Kind
see
of
what it is.
surprised actually
That's
that,
wonderful.
Yeah.
we didn't use these Spanish descriptions.
Yeah. Well, I said, Frau Penner, if you're watching, my German teacher.
Yeah.
She'd be just as happy that I didn't say it in Germany. I took 5 years of German, so yeah, just wanted to highlight some of the things there, and that leads into the second one, the Eagles Market. I left the YouTube clip on here. It's our Jamie Smith's program that has students expanding what they're doing and impacting others on the campus with their market that they do in their restaurant. So about once a month as the school year goes, the students are planning, preparing, cooking, buying groceries, all that kind of stuff, meals that are phenomenal, that then they deliver to staff, and then they ask for feedback. And like at the end of the year last year, then we did a favorites type of thing. So it's really good. They get into everything from promotion, as you can watch the video, to the economics of shopping, planning, measuring things out, cooking, customer service, all of that. So it's just ways to highlight what they're accomplishing as well. We had our first round of testing. We did MAPS testing, was our main focus on our end. And then a couple different things as we highlight. We had an NRD guest speaker. Ultimately came and talked to our sophomores in biology class. But it was very interactive, had a lot of just manipulatives and hands-on things. But if you're going to put pictures of things, you're going to put pictures of kids holding snakes, right? So, and everything from, erosion and runoff examples and different things that way to snapping turtles and snakes and lizards and all that kind of stuff. So really talking about the local NRD and conservation and just all kinds of different stuff. Homecoming information, just thanks to all who celebrated with us. It was fun. Honestly, our staff had, I think, just a fabulous time with it all, more than we have ever in the past, I think. And that really outdid the students. And then one of the things that we're really trying to focus, simplify and focus on 2 things, especially this year. One is raising school spirit, and 2 is communication. I think any surveys or any feedback that you get, communication is always one that can be improved. So that's one, and the other one is building school spirit and pride in what we do. And one of the visible ways that we've done that is we're trying every Friday, or I guess one was on a Thursday, having some of our kids that maybe the elementary kids look up to go and greet kids that come off the bus. I think the first day was it football first day?
I think it was a football.
I think they intimidated some of the elementary kids, but now it's becoming like, I think the most recent one that we did was the mascot, yes?
Yes.
Which I don't have that
They
picture.
thought that one was
Yeah.
great. FBLA, I think, or the banking school has done
We had the
it.
homecoming court, we had
Yeah.
cheer, we had football, we had, FBLA and
I think
softball.
every group
Softball.
signed up, right?
Great
Groups are
idea.
signing up.
Yeah,
So-
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just, and, I mean, why not?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Then you talk about things that you can do and, just, it's fun. I can let Jackie talk about on her end of things, but on our end of things, as kids, okay, you're out there competing for us, whatever else, you get to impact a young kid's
Mhm.
day minimally, or no, like, don't cost you
Right, yeah.
anything, it's, build you up, I mean, it's what you're doing for others, so, anyway, just trying to instill that, and I think it's been a good kickoff to the year.
yeah. Thanks, Mr. Pinkston. Anybody have any questions before we move on? Mrs. Morgan, Dr. Morgan, sorry, it's been taking you a while.
It's all right. I tell the kids I'm still married, so it's okay to.
This is, yeah,
They're super funny. All right, so, we also finished our first round of assessments, so math and passwords, their, staff are currently developing their goals based on the data and reviewing it. Bank Schools is back. We, took in quite a bit of money, and RBR Bank always matches up to $5 on the first day of deposit,
Mhm.
so, the kids saved brought in $650, and then $428 was matched by RBR Bank, so that's pretty awesome. So every Friday until April, we're gonna be making some deposits and saving some money. And then those checks are handed out on sixth grade graduation, which is also super funny. That the kids are like, wow, I had so much money in there. We're like, I remember the one time and I got $1.25 back, and so it's fun. Eagle Pride participation, so something we're doing on the elementary side is trying to get young kids out to varsity sporting events. So we're doing this, Eagle Pride participation, so every time they show up to a varsity sporting event with a parent, they get a little ticket, they put their name in, we're tallying what grades were at the different events, and then once the students get to 100 tickets participation, they get a classroom party, or grade level party. So we're rocking that. And then high school activity representation is just what Mr. Fingston was talking about. I think there are some pictures on mine too, if you wanna continue to scroll, I just upped my picture game. I know, right?
Oh,
So-
even more.
Yeah, more
Oh,
pictures,
but-
I know, watch out, watch out.
I thought I was
So
gonna
some more
leave it.
pictures of some of the students coming in. I will tell you, they talk about the kids, the elementary kids talk about who was outside all day long. You hear about it, they ask like, there was this one guy and he was dressed in a football jersey. I'm like, I have no idea who that is. That was everybody that was out there. But they're super excited. And then they're super excited when they see them walk through the lunchroom to go to weights or whatever. So it's fun. It's one of the beautiful things about the building that we have and our ability to impact kids all the way through. So we're gonna continue that as we go. Homecoming week was last week. The elementary got involved as well. We did daily prize winner drawings for kids who participated, and then there's a nice picture of our neon lunchroom.
It was so bright.
The kids on our side might have beat the adults, but I will attest to, I think the adults won on the high school side. They're over here. Grandparents' Day just happened on Friday. Over 400 grandparents or very important visitors were here. They had an afternoon of fun getting snacks. There's some pictures. The students, we were wall to wall people. I mean, like literally lining the walls because we were out of seating space. I'm like, you look able-bodied, you're gonna have to stand. I need to see. Lots of fun though. They had, we do a song and a little thing for the grandparents in the gym, and then they break off and they have classroom activities and they do snacks and crafts and a game together, and then they're free to go, which ties into Little Girl Cheer, which I didn't get on here. There were 99 Little Girl Cheer participants this year, and I'm super surprised we couldn't find one more to hit that 100 mark, so there's our challenge for next year. It was a great night, and along the school spirit theme that we've been working on, we do Fight Song Friday in the elementary, so we sing the fight song every Friday morning to start our day. And I will tell you, if you were at the game and you heard the little girls when the fight song went, they sang it, and I was like,
Yes.
Yes, they are learning it. So,
Yeah, there were more
Super
people
fun.
singing it than I have remember hearing.
yes,
Yeah, there were a lot of people.
so it's super exciting, yeah.
Brian, you still remember it?
Oh, no.
Come on.
But no, going back to what you said, Morgan, about the kids, my wife said, we were at the homecoming game, and my wife said the same thing, she goes, it seems like there's a ton of elementary kids here tonight.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, I'm
Yeah.
glad you're doing that,
Yeah,
and keeping track of that and giving them a bonus, I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea,
yeah, we wanna get them out and get them participating, and keep them out, and
it's good.
cheering them on, it's good stuff. And it's a better place for them to be than the place that they could be, so.
Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah, that's another really positive thing, that's great.
Okay.
Uh,
Your principals.
I gotta
We
be,
have great kids.
yeah, we have
So
great-
we're fortunate.
we do have great kids, and the ideas are really born out of a committee that's rolling right now, and to try to impact school spirit, so while I would love to take all the credit, we just get the joy of presenting the good outcomes.
Very
It's awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan.
Yeah.
Much appreciated, Mr. Frankston. Thank you. Dr. Lewis, do you want to walk us through the superintendent's report?
Sure. The NASB and NERC member updates are attached for you to take a look at. NASB on there, if anybody is interested in attending the area membership meeting, that is coming up next week. Right now I've got Cass and Matt and myself registered, so if anybody else wants to, just give me a holler and I can get you registered, or you might have a login yourself and be able to register as well. Just let me know. It's over at the Fremont Middle School at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that on that Wednesday evening next week. And you can review the NERC member update as well. I attached my lead log for you to review, but it's pretty early because it's not even quite a full quarter yet. My contract begins in July, so it's got July and August on there, which I had less than a half a day for an appointment, and then the 3rd of July, I had family at my house, so I wasn't in, and then we're gone, but on duty for administrative days there. We completed that van purchase. You saw that on the bills. We approved that last month. We came in under the 55. We approved to spend up to 55, or not to exceed 55, and we ended up spending 47-ish, 47.5 or something like that on the van. It is over getting detailed at Sign Depot right now, so. We've actually used it once already though, so we used it to shuttle some kids home when we had to unexpectedly send school buses instead of a charter bus to the state fair, so.
Yeah.
We had to pivot, we were out of drivers. So that went well, and that's just kind of, I know you all received that too, but I wanted to make sure we talked about that in a public meeting, and how that actually went. And then, the first meeting of the Commissioners Superintendent Advisory Council is going to be next Monday. They invited 32 superintendents and, ESU directors to participate in that this first year here. I think since I was, on the executive board, for NERCSA and NASA this year, I ended up on that list, so I feel fortunate to have been asked, so that'll be 4 meetings this year. They thought they were going to be in or around Kearney most of the time. The first one will be in North Platte, though, so I have a little bit further to drive than that. But that's okay. I mean, I know North Platte. I've lived out there for a long time. It's just a long drive, so I know what I'm getting into. But, so anyway, that begins next Monday for that.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Lewis? No? Okay, that brings us into our committee reports. Finance Committee pretty much speaks for itself. That's the bulk of our business this evening. We've got Negotiations Committee on here. I imagine just as a reminder that we need to get these first meetings on the
Yeah.
calendar.
Yep, the first meeting needs to be in October. It needs to happen before the end of October.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Why don't we, after the meeting, put our heads together and look at our calendars? Okay. Professional development sharing, I think, Fremont area meeting is really
Yeah.
the only thing
Yeah, I mentioned
that's
that.
coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did, Sharon and Dorf did start sending out memos about the state education conference coming up in November.
Mhm.
Primarily, those go out early because if you're in a district where you need those rooms, it's really kind of like a first come, first serve, get your name on the list, and here's what you need to do, and don't turn them in before 9 a.m. because then you won't get a room. It's like a whole ordeal. So that's why that comes out early,
Okay.
but we have plenty of time to register for that yet. That is the end of, the third full week in November.
So do you do
Before
that, Don, or do
Thanksgiving.
we?
I can register if you want to go, or if you have your login, it's easier probably for me to just let me know if you want to go, and I will get us all registered at the same time. So that's always a great one. We meet lots of board members
Mhm.
across the state there.
Yeah, it is. It's
Lots of
good.
good sessions,
Yeah.
yeah.
Always take something away from that.
Mhm.
Okay, we have no unfinished business from our last board meeting, so that takes us into new business. Of course, the bulk of which is budget, because it is that season. Item 10.1 is discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt the 23-24 budget as presented. Again, kudos to the Finance Committee. We met several times to go through this. And Dr. Lewis for putting this budget together for us that funds our schools and is responsible to our taxpayers as well. I don't know if anybody from the Finance Committee would like to add anything else, or if there are any questions from board members regarding our budget. Okay. Then I will make a motion to adopt the 2023-2024 budget as presented.
Second it.
Thank you, Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Let's vote, please.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Moma,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Flessner,
Yes.
Chase Cradwell,
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Item 10.2, of course, is the follow-up to that. Discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt resolution to increase the base growth percentage used to determine the school district's property tax request authority up to 6%. A little bit of discussion here, I think. This is a little bit, what's the right word, Brian?
Irritating.
Oh.
Do you really want me to say it?
No?
I'm not gonna say it.
This is kind of like
It's
putting the cart in
confusing.
front of the horse, I feel like.
Yeah.
So this is necessary due to some legislation that came out of Lincoln. Although it gives our board the authority to increase our budget by that amount, we don't have the intent in doing that. And it's the legal opinion that if we don't take this action now, it may handcuff us in future years in not being able to grow our budget more than 3%, which this year is 3.5%.
And this one is, this vote is not about growing the budget. This one is about
Okay.
asking for taxes.
Mhm.
So that's where it gets confusing because they change the amount that you can grow your budget just about every year based on a formula of how much everybody grew across the state last year. And so they tell you what your budget authority will be. This one is about the tax authority. So this is the first year that they put a 3% on, they called it a soft cap
Yeah.
on our tax authority. And so our budget is, and that's where we're running into, but a school our size and a budget our size is allowed to exceed that by up to an additional 6%. So what they did this year, and this is why we are a little bit over the 3%, but yet still asking for quite a bit last year, is because they used what we asked for last year and then subtracted out foundation aid and said, and then gave you some growth on top of that. So they said, here's the magic number that is considered to be your 3% soft cap this year. And so the finance committee met, and we talked about this a little bit last month too, and decided to go ahead and do the vote to exceed that, because number one, we don't know if we're going to have the ability to vote next year, and 3% is really not very much, especially if you have a year of flat valuations. And we need just a small percentage of that this year to put our necessary cash reserve in a position that makes us a little bit more comfortable, and it seemed like the right time to do it because we're still reducing taxes and that levy has gone down a lot.
That's a great explanation.
Oh, I hope so.
So is it necessary for us to read the resolution?
I can read the resolution
Okay.
if you want, and then we can do the motions. So,
Please.
whereas the Board of Education for Washington County School District 89-24, commonly known as Arlington Public Schools, is planning the school district's annual budget for the 23-24 school year. And whereas the funding need of the school district to meet its obligations to its students will require an increase in the base growth percentage used to determine the school district's property tax request authority under Nebraska Revised Statute 79-3403, and whereas Nebraska law authorizes the board upon an affirmative vote of at least 70% of the board to increase such base growth percentage by up to 6%. Be it therefore resolved that pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute 79-3405, subsection 2, the board hereby increases the base growth percentage used to determine its property tax request authority for the 23-24 budget in an amount of up to 6%.
Thank you.
Now you go ahead and do your vote.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution to increase the base growth percentage used to determine the school district's property tax request authority up to 6%.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Credible, Mr. Art. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Sharon Holman,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plesser,
Yes.
Chase Credible.
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes. Okay, very good. Motion carries. The third piece here for our budget is item 10.3. Discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt a resolution to set tax levy for the 2023-2024 budget year is presented as follows. General Fund, 0.756527 for $6,672,219. Bond Fund, 0.065855 for $580,813. QC Puff Fund, 0.040085 for $353,535, and the Special Building Fund at 0.028632, $252,525, for a total levy of 0.891099, 89.1099 cents at $7,859,092. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jason.
I'll second that.
Cassie? It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Jason and Cassie. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plesser,
Yes.
Chase Credible.
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Sharon Holman.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Item 10.4, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to amend policy 5414, which is identification of learners with high ability.
So the discussion we had last spring and the summer was that we are not identifying high ability learners in the manner that our policy had stated anymore because assessments change and the way the assessments have changed and we've added different pieces, made it more plausible to, to do 3 out of 5 measures instead. And so basically, you can kind of read through because I put the red line on there, but they have to, if the student meets one of the following criteria, they may be assessed for identification. And then when that can be made, now it's 3 out of 5 of the following criteria rather than 2 out of 4. And we've clarified which assessments we're actually using and what the names of those tests are. Most of these happen in grades 3 through 6, 7, 8 or so. Occasionally you get someone who moves in secondary school, and at that point in time, we're just talking about basically, there's not a lot of intervention anymore, maybe a little bit. There's a class that they can take in junior high, but then are they in an honors class versus a regular class, or are they taking these upper levels this, or are they taking dual credits when they're sophomores or juniors rather than waiting until they're seniors, things like that. So those are based on these criteria. Mr. Fanston, Mrs. Morgan, did you want anything else? This is this is our modus operandi for the past probably year or so anyway. We just needed to get that in policy, that these are the officials.
So I have a question at the fifth point,
Mm-hmm.
teacher referral score of 40 out of 44. What are the mechanics?
It's a
to the-
check sheet, for lack of a
Okay.
better term, or not, it's like a,
What do you call it?
rubric, it's
Yeah.
a rubric.
Uh,
So the teachers go through and a student, is innovative in their thinking and their daily problem solving.
Mhm.
They can get a score of a 1 through a 4.
I see.
Students are, and so then yes.
Mhm.
So when they score on one of those other, standardized test scores, in the percentile that would put them able to qualify, then we give the teachers the recommendation form and say,
Mhm.
are you seeing this in the classroom, not just on this
Yeah,
test?
yeah, like a little more qualitative way to
Yep.
identify something, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt amended policy 5414 as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cassie. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? I see none. Let's vote.
Cassie Flessner,
Yes.
Chase Credibill.
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Stark.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion carries. Moving on. Item 10.5, discuss, consider, and take necessary action to adopt amended policy 5006 resolution in appendix 1 on second reading.
So we're doing this for the legal need to set our enrollment capacities or our option capacities by October 15th. Okay, so that's why this is our second reading on this. Remember when we did those other ones in June and July, I missed that there was a change on this one as well. The first change to option enrollment, of course, was the change in how we approve or deny special education applications or those that are coming with IEPs. The second piece was they changed the date at which you have to post your capacities. So this is just to amend this policy, and then it'll come back next month in October with actual capacities for you guys to review. Yeah.
Boogie.
Do we have a motion?
I will motion to adopt amended policy 5006, resolution and appendix on second reading.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Cassie and Chase. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? No? Let's vote, please.
Chase Credibill.
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Stark,
Yes.
Cassie Flessner.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. The final item on our agenda, pretty exciting. Discuss, consider entering into athletic co-op with Fremont for boys and girls high school soccer.
So if you remember last year, we had this discussion because we had a group of parents who wished us to pursue a co-op with Fremont for soccer. And at the time, Fremont said, no, we're not interested. We've got enough kids in our own programs. This year, they're coming to us and saying, hey, would you like to co-op with us for soccer? So anyway, so Mr. Shada and the AD spoke and Scott Anderson, I believe is his name, gave us kind of a cost breakdown. So we know that with co-ops, there's going to be some cost analysis. We know that for swimming and we know it for some of those other co-ops and things like this. So based on last year's costs, it'll cost roughly $550 per participant. They talk about, I mean, there's the cost of the coaches, the cost of uniforms, things like that. And they break it down by the amount of participants that they have in the program, and it would just be that per student. So I know that we have some girls interested. Not sure how many boys will have interested or not, but we know we currently have 8 athletic opportunities for girls and 8 athletic opportunities for boys. So if we added only a girls co-op, and Mr. Shepherd thought the same way, that it would throw that balance off for Title IX. And so this is being offered to both us and Logan Mew, and both Arlington and Logan Mew replied and said, well, if you do it for boys and girls, we can probably make that work. And so they made it happen on Fremont side. So, because initially it was only the girls coach that was interested, not the boys, but
So they
They're gonna do
are
both
willing to
ways.
take.
Yep.
Okay,
So now is this for the spring then,
it
Don,
is,
or what?
yeah, it's a spring opportunity. Boys and girls both participate in the spring, so. And we,
A long-term deal?
I think it's good for 2 years the first time you do it, I think, and then you renew it every couple of years. I think that's how it works with co-op.
It sure worked out well for swimming. I
Yeah,
mean,
it has worked
I'm
out
not
great
involved
for
in that sport, but I hear it has. Yeah.
Since Fremont came to us, would it be, like, is there a possibility of them coming back after that 2-year time period and saying, yeah, we don't want to co-op anymore?
There's always that possibility, and they've had co-ops with others that have changed, like, they've had a co-op with Bergen for baseball for a long time, and that, it flopped. It used to be like Bergen had the sport and Fremont sent their kids there to play, but then I think they had some, I don't know, probably for the same reason, probably for Title IX, now Fremont has the sport and Bergen sends players to them, so those change. I mean, and I've seen that happen over the years. I think that the amount of students, it's gonna be very beneficial for the amount of students that we send over. I don't know how many it's going to be though, and I don't foresee a time when Fremont says, we've got enough of our own, because they already do, honestly, have enough of their own to field their own team. They just want the opportunity for the area students who are asking for it too. And I think maybe there's a shift in the thinking of some of their board members, and now they're really interested in doing that again. So I don't see them coming back, especially, I don't think it's gonna be more than a handful of players on each side, from each school. So I don't think it's gonna push them over, and I don't think the coach is gonna come back and say, this is way too many people to handle. We don't want it anymore, so. But you run that risk with any,
Yeah.
Partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
I see no, I mean, I really don't see any negatives to,
No.
gives the kids another opportunity. I mean, we do have kids that play soccer here, we always have, and they had to go elsewhere, this give them an opportunity. So just logistically, Fremont's board would need to approve this and get us a formal offer, which we would probably look at next month.
I think this is it.
This is
It's
it?
on
Okay.
their board agenda,
Okay,
which I think they're meeting tonight. They may have actually, I think they meet earlier, or they might be meeting right now, and Logan View has it on theirs as well. So
Mhm.
we can go ahead and take the action,
Okay.
and we'll just do the paperwork, because they'll concurrently kind of.
Anybody have any soccer players that might wanna make this motion? I don't think we have any soccer players. Your kids used to, yeah. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to enter into athletic co-op with Fremont Public Schools for boys and girls high school soccer.
Thank you, Chase and Shannon. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I see none. Let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yep.
Shannon Wilmot,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plessner,
Yes.
Chase Crafton.
Yes.
All right, very good. We have no executive session this evening, so we can adjourn this evening's meeting at 7:48.
For the record, that's like a new record.
Yes.
Y'all back there got a good one.
You guys gotta stay for about another 35 minutes.